including everybody, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sometimes when we go through difficulties, we try to pretend that it's not actually happening. We brush it to the side, we act like everything's okay. Our next speaker tried to do that, and she realized that at some point, you have to face your darkest moments head on. I'm very proud to introduce to you Ms. Evelyn Espinosa.
So there are many different areas of my life that I can talk to you guys about. But the focus of tonight is the most recent chapter of my story. And that is learning to be human. You guys might be like, whoa, is she a robot? But no, that would be cool. It's more so touching base on how I was a very guarded woman. Growing up, I grew up in a Latino household. We didn't really learn about emotions, what they were, how to process them. The words I love you weren't very prevalent in our household. And I was also a very shy kid, so I didn't really hang around the kids my age. I always sat at the adult table, listening to their conversations, learning from them. And at a young age, I learned how humans can be very political in their actions, how easily one brother may betray the other, and how the words forever were only temporary. I remember my father always telling me, listen, escucha, learn from their mistakes and not your own. I took this saying to heart and began having a narrative view on my own life. I started watching over myself instead of actually being present in the moment, saying, oh, I already know this whole life, I got a handle on it. But at the same time, I was still 8 years old, still prepubescent, immature, not really having an experience for myself. I knew of how this world could hurt others, but I never really knew of how it could hurt me. So when I say I was a guarded woman, I don't mean it just happened overnight. It was more gradual. For example, when I was 14 years old, I met a boy in church camp. He said he liked me, I said I liked him too. However, he lived in LA and I lived in Oxnard, so our relationship solely lived on our phones. One day he texted me saying, I like your friend too. And I was just like, okay. And from that, it was almost like we were in the season finale of The Bachelors. I remember my friend and I were hunching over our phones in the church parking lot, just waiting. Who's he gonna choose? Who's he gonna choose? Then his answer came through. Drum roll, please. Dun, 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 dun. He chose her. And I just thought, ouch. That actually hurt. So from there, I went to my favorite place at the time, which was my mind. I analyzed it, thought about it, rationalized, and all of a sudden I thought, you know what? I don't deserve that. I don't deserve to be someone's second choice. That's never gonna happen to me again. And that's how that wall was built. That wall that prohibited me from fighting for something that I could possibly love. Just like that, there were other incidents in my life. Some smaller, some larger. But from there, it was just one wall here, one wall there, another one here, another one there. Up until my heart was more fortified than Fort Knox. I was very numb to emotions, not really knowing when I was truly feeling something. I remember in high school, I would always be looking around at other people, judging them, saying, are you guys seriously crying over a broken heart? Fussing over a lost friendship? I really thought I was above it all because I really thought I could control this emotion. I said, God, there's bigger things to worry about in the world. However, last summer, an event occurred that caused me to rethink this mentality. So last summer, I was raped, and by that time I was so numb from emotions that I didn't even realize it. didn't really process. I was okay like I always was. However, this time was just a bit different. This time I could still hear a whisper of pain. And this whisper of pain pushed me far enough to have a conversation with my friend. I remember we were in Santa Monica Pier, sitting on a bench overlooking the ocean. I just brought it up casually and I just relayed the event that had occurred. And immediately she's like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" I said, confused, "Yeah, what do you mean? I'm always okay." She's like, no, that doesn't sound right." And that was something that resonated within me throughout the weekend. And the combination of that whisper of pain and her words pushed me far enough to say, I want to get to the bottom of this. So by the time Monday rolled around, I woke up with a purpose in mind to get to the bottom. So I marched on over to the health center. You get free sessions here in the health center for therapy, guys, FYI. I walked in there and I said, okay, I need you to settle this for me. I told her. She stayed silent for a second, just looking at me. And she said, yes, Evelyn, you were raped. I just nodded. I said, okay. Did what I usually did, rationalized it, thought about it. But then I went home. I was in my mom's closet. For some reason, I feel like that's my safe space. And I broke down. I broke down because I felt like I was finally okay to do that. With each tear that I shed, relief and pain flooded within me. Relief because I was finally able to feel it because someone else called out that emotion within me. I couldn't trust my own thoughts on it. So I went about 1 or 2 more sessions. And then after that, I was like, okay, I'm fine now. I don't need to know more. But that same day, I said, no. And this indifference, I was still jolted from it. I thought, how is it possible to just be okay? It's just been a week and a half. Then I got to meditating. I thought of other events that occurred in my life. I realized how I always just shed a tear, then I just swept it under the rug. Honestly, it was the only chore I ever did. So here I go on again, marching on over to the health center. I walk in there and I tell my therapist, I got another question for you. I ask her, so just because I'm not feeling this anymore, just because I feel as if I'm really okay, does it mean that I am? Once again, silently, she looked at me and said, no. Those emotions are still there. I was just so guarded that I never really realized all that turmoil I had within me. I would only look at my heart from the outside, from all those walls. I wouldn't really dare to peek behind them to see what was really there. And I just said, wow, I gotta change this. So, a couple months after that, I was working on bringing these walls down one by one, working past these issues. I finally got those skeletons out of the closet, had conversations with them all. Many of them left, few still remain. But through this journey, I realized that my strength didn't really lie in the ability to go through something and say, I'm okay. That didn't affect me. I came to realize that my strength lied in having the courage and bravery to say that I'm not okay. In having that ability to admit to myself and to others that I need help, that's what took the real courage. I came to the knowledge of what the power of vulnerability really was. Bringing these walls down and embracing and not being ashamed of my feelings, not trying to cower or just avoid them. I came to see the joy in them. And of course, emotions aren't really the best of things. Now I do fuss over a lost friendship, Now I do cry over a broken heart. It's not the best thing ever. But I also came to realize that in my pursuit of trying to control these emotions, it was never a whole bunch of different switches for me. It wasn't, I'm not going to feel anger today, I'm not going to feel sadness today, I'm not going to feel pain today. It was actually just one switch, numb one, numb all. So I was able to rediscover the joy in everything and putting yourself out on the line again, not knowing what's really going to happen, rediscovering the hopeful 8-year-old within me. And of course, I came to realize that life is never going to be perfect. But that's only because it was never meant to be.
How many of you guys like to swim? Any swimmers out there? You know, sometimes when we're out in the water, we bite off a little bit more than we can chew. Our legs start getting tired, start cramping up. Water's a little bit too deep, and it seems like the only way to get out is to ask for help. But what if you feel like there's no one there who can help you? Or better yet, what if you feel like you're not even allowed to ask for help? Our next speaker found himself in this exact situation, and he was able to get out without drowning. His name is Emiliano Navarro.
So as you guys just heard, my name is Clothesline Project, and as you guys can see, I'm dressed in a hoodie and some jeans and some sneakers, and while everyone else is dressed up very nice and fancy. This is how you see me on the daily, so this is me every day, this is me right now. And before I start, could I get Professor Emily's Walls to give a few words to describe me?
Describe it? I would say you have a very big heart, funny, and great sense of humor, and you're very brave.
Thank you. Could I get one of my friends in the audience to stand up? Anyone?
Right here, bro.
Go for it.
Josh, let me get a tap, get a tap.
I can see you, dude.
It's funny because we sat the other day and we were confused on what we wanted to wear. And we were wearing something that kind of turned you out. It was solid or strong and it really compromised it. And today, you have some great things coming out.
Thank you, man. Could I get one more person? Anyone? You agree?
Okay. Oh, sorry. Well, I think you're a very kind person. You always put your others' feelings before your own, and you're a very positive spirit whenever you're out with us.
Thank you. Alright, so as most of you guys have heard, and you guys see me right now, normal dude, alright, I'll talk about. So, I wanted to touch on the suicide and depression awareness because I went through this 1 year ago and I went through it by myself. My parents have no idea until right now, and all my friends are hearing this for the first time ever, aside from my best friend who I hope is here. So, let's get started with the story. So, I was dating a girl a year ago and I loved her. I did not have a care in the world, whether I worked, I ate, I slept, whether I came to school or do my homework or anything, but she would keep me in line. She would tell me, no, like, let's not go out, like, do your homework, stay home, get some sleep. So I was like, okay. My parents thought that their son had found a girl that's good enough for their only son, considering she would go to church, she worked 2 jobs, she took care of her little brother and her older sister when she was at home. So they thought, oh, she's good enough for their only son. So one day she decided to go to an Angels game with her coworkers, and she loved baseball, so I was like, okay, I'm not gonna stop you, go right ahead. So she went, and I was about to go to sleep, and I just had a bad feeling that something bad was gonna happen. I consider it my intuition because it never fails me whenever something bad is gonna happen, and it always ends up happening. So I tried to brush it off, and I went to sleep. And I woke up the next morning, I was like, good morning, with a red heart emoji, and I was like, how's the game? She didn't respond. So I proceeded with my morning like any other day, did my homework, went to school, and then went to work after. And while I was at work, I decided to sneak into the break room and see if she texted back. Sure enough, she did. And it was just like 5 long paragraphs, like explaining what happened the night before. So I was like, don't read it. If it's something bad, it's gonna mess up your whole day at work, so don't read it. So I go through work, I get home, and I read the text messages, sitting there stunned with my mouth open, just like thinking, why did this happen to me? She was telling me that the night before, she was coming home with her coworkers, and their peer pressured her into taking substances, so she was under the influence, and they headed back to her coworker's house. And they were on his bed, and I'm pretty sure you guys could piece this together as to what happened. So I was just thinking, why me? And she thought she was pregnant. I'm pretty sure you guys can figure out why. But I didn't know what to do, but I cycle a lot. I love riding my bike whenever I'm sad, I'm angry, or just need to get away from the house for a little bit. So I did. I rode to Camarillo, and it was like 6:30 when I was out there, and I was about to bomb the hill in Camarillo. You could hit a good 40 miles an hour just going down the bike without pedaling. And I honestly thought for a good 5 seconds, should I just swerve in front of a car and it all, I have to deal with the depression, with the anxiety that came with it, or any of the other stuff, but I decided not to and just head home instead, so I did. And I walk in the door, my parents were like, ¿Dónde estabas? Like, where were you? I was like, I was riding there, like, why so late? I was like, I just went to ride there. Like, okay then, be safe. So while they proceeded to sleep, it was 8 o'clock, I just bawled my eyes out and I cried in my bed so much, thinking, why me again? And at the same time, I was waiting for Logic to drop his new song off his Everybody album that released literally 1 year ago, well, almost a year ago. And out of all the songs that he decided to drop that day, he decided to drop the 1-800 track. If you guys haven't heard it yet, please get to listen, it's a pretty good song. And I was thinking, the universe works in mysterious ways. Out of all the songs, this is the one that he decided to drop right when I decided to start contemplating suicide. I'm not saying I'm special or anything, it's just, you never know who's watching out for you. So I just had on repeat for an hour, walking around the house, thinking the situation over and over again. And I was able to phase it out for a while. And a month passed by. And during this month, I got a little bit of depression, and I would still hang out with her because I was worried for her if she was pregnant or not, because her parents would be really mad at her. And I worried for her. She's telling me, why do you care about me still? After I did this to you, I was like, it's just who I am. It's how I was brought up by my godmother and my parents always told me, whether you're in a situation yourself or whether they did something to you or what situation they're in, always care for them. So I did. And another month passes by. And this time around, I developed anxiety along with my depression getting worse. So we would still hang out, and I would drop her off at her house, and as soon as she got out of the car and I started driving away, it just hit me, and I would just think in my head, why are you doing this? Why are you still hanging out with her? But I would remind myself, it's who I am. And then my anxiety would kick in as soon as I could see her, because my heart would be really fast. I would breathe heavily. I was just like, oh, you're so excited to see her, but no, it was anxiety. And another month passes by, still thinking she was pregnant. 3 months in, she was in though. And I decided to stop talking to her because it was affecting my summer school classes. And I told her, hey, could I stop talking to you for a while? She's like, yeah, sure. So I did. Sure enough, the want to die slowly went away. My anxiety got better. It's still there, but not as bad as before. And I want you guys to take away two things. One, to reach out to others that are in a situation themselves and help them, because they might be alone, they don't know what to do, maybe they need someone to give them some advice, hear them out or anything. But not just that, also if you are in a situation yourself, reach out to someone, look for someone, whether it's a family member, a friend, or the National Suicide Hotline number, or the website. If it's too much for you to talk on the phone, you can also chat with a representative online, and it's a simple process. All you just agree to the terms of service and just start chatting away. But if you can't find anyone to talk to, or you just don't want to talk to anyone about it, find an outlet such as me. I was able to use not only his album or the song, I was able to use music as a whole, all genres, all artists, and it helped my anxiety it helped me calm down whenever I got anxiety, or it would liven me up whenever I would be depressed. And I encourage you guys, if you guys can't find anyone again, find an outlet such as a sport, recreational activity, or something as simple as me with my music. And yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Just a little sample of the song. We can't play too much because we'll get sued, but great story. So our next speaker is so crazy popular. If you ever want to find her on campus, it shouldn't be too hard. All you have to do is look for a crowd, and she's probably there. She attracts so many people with her energy. You know, she just has this warm, loving aura. And when you consider all the things that she's been through, it just makes that energy and aura that much more special. So here to talk to you about some of the things that she's encountered, Regina Wells Desta.
But God, that's what I got to say, but God. I was married 30 years, I thought happily married. We had just got back from our anniversary / Valentine's celebration. So 2 weeks after, which happened to be 2 weeks before the youngest 18th birthday, he came into the workplace. We worked at the same place, I should say, and different department, and he said, "My wife, I don't love you anymore, I want my keys." Those of you who know me, you know what I thought. My heart stopped, but being the woman that I am, took a breath and I said, "Can I talk with you after?" So I continued through my day. As the day went on, it really hit me. Did he just say he didn't love me? What was all that 2 weeks ago? What was that all about? What a great actor. What a waste of talent. All these things, all these emotions. So I made it back. We work in the carpinteria. I made it back to Ventura, that's where we were living. Went to Bank of America, that's where we banked. And I had a nervous little meltdown, ball, why me, you know, went through the whole 9 yards. That passed, I got out the car, went put my card in, like, okay, I have to go to get a hotel, because I don't have any family here. Put my card in, insufficient funds, like, I must have missed a pen. Put it again, he left me $25 in one account and 20 in the other. But God. I also had my third surgery scheduled for my hand, carpal tunnel. So I was like, what am I going to do? I have no money, I have no family here. What am I going to do? a friend called me, and she said, why you sound like that? You're always so happy, and I shared what happened. So she said, oh, come on over to this other friend's house. I never met this gentleman before. And he said, oh, don't worry. Oh, he started explaining all the things to my husband. So he let me stay there and say that when I get paid within the 2 weeks, I could start paying him rent. That went well for a while. However, like I said, I had the surgery. After the surgery, I became permanently disabled, unable to work. Now I have no money coming in. And the gentleman that I was staying, he died. So I have nowhere to go. This other person said, oh, you could come stay at my place. And by this time they had helped me and I got food stamps. That's the only income I have. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, he lived off the avenue. He came to me and he let me know what I needed to do to stay there. With the morals that I have, I said, oh no, I'm not. He goes, oh yes, you will. I said, oh no, I'm not. So I packed my little bag and I left, stand on the avenue. First experience I'm gonna have with the police. They put the light on me. Ma'am, what are you doing? And I just start crying. I said, you cannot sell. I'm like, sell what? So that passed. A gentleman right there, I was right there across from Lalo's. He saw me and he keep on, you could tell somebody when they want to get their attention. So I got up enough guts and I walked over and I explained my situation. He gave me $5 so I could get the bus and get back into town when the bus came. With that said, I ended up being homeless, literally sleeping underneath a tree in Wilson Park. Devastated, have no street smart. About maybe a week or so I'm on there, police rolled up on the lawn, said, okay, what you doing? He searched my bag. It was a male cop, emptied my backpack. I had a bottle of water. He opened it, he smelled it, he realized it was water, he threw it out. He had me laid on the grass, he pat me down, touched my private. I was so humiliated. But God, I kept my peace. So then the winter shelter opened, so I went on to the winter shelter. So I'm leaving the winter shelter one morning, and I got to stay behind because I was feeling sick. As I came out, it was in Ventura, and it's right there by the Volkswagen, so underneath that pass by the freeway. 3 males pushed me forward, beat me, and raped me. It seems like it went on for hours. And after they finished, I saw a light. I'm like, oh, thank God, a police. So I staggered on into the street, and I asked for some assistance. And the cop looked at me and he said, what do you people expect from us? I'm on an important call. And he proceeded to go on. At that time, 3 things went through my mind. What does he mean, you people? A woman of color, a prostitute, or a homeless? It's not a crime for being homeless. So I ended up shocked and stayed underneath the bush right there by Arby's for about a few days. A young man found me and he took me over to this place called One Stop, which is on Loma Vista and Ventura. And One Stop means that that's where the homeless could go, you get medical attention. And so I got into a STAR called the STAR program. They tested me for STD, thank God, but God, did not have no disease. However, I have now a missing tooth, jacked up, face all messed up. So I continued, and I'm afraid to go back to the park, to the center, and I'm afraid to go to the park. So I'm literally like sleeping in little bathrooms, I'm doing everything I can to try and stay safe. During this time, I ended up going to a place called the Harbor Church, because I followed a group of people, and they're like, we're gonna go over there, we're gonna get food, and oh my goodness, I walked onto that property, and the presence of God was so strong, and these people were loving on us. I got my first sleeping bag, I got a hoodie, they gave us warm scarves, things that you really need out there when you're in the streets, things that you take for granted every day. So then I start going back. I'm like, what? I could come here during the day, give me breakfast, I could get a shower, I could get my laundry done. This is the place for me. They're not gonna harass me out there no more. And I get to pray, and I have safety. So while I'm there, they mentioned to me, I asked, I said, oh, can I stay and help and clean up? So I started cleaning the restroom, anything not to be back out in the streets. One of the Pastor Sid, he came to me one day and he said, oh, would you like to run our clothing ministry? Which was what the people donate clothes and then you have to sort through it and you give out, you're able to get it through the clothes, female and male. So I did that. So then I became the clothing lady. I'll be on the bus and I hear, hey, clothing lady. And I'm thinking, oh, for the love of God, please let them be dressed decent. Because sometimes you leave, they look good, but they got their clothes all tied on the side, you know, little doozy dukes. Oh. So I did that for a while. And while I was doing that, the cook, she told me, she goes, Regina, why don't you go to the Gabriel house? I said, oh, but that's for women and children. My kids are grown. She goes, no, it's not. So she made the call, Pastor Sid made the call, and I went on to the Gabriel house. They did a phone interview, and of course you had to be drug-free. And surprise, I was. So the stereotype that people always say, homelessness, you choose to be homeless, you're drunk, you're an alcoholic. Sometimes women just happen to be in an abusive relationship or just dealt a bad card like me. So my first thing, one of the things that you have to meet with the case manager. And she said, Regina, what you really want to do? I said, I don't know, because I can't live off disability. Now disability kicked in. I said, but I always wanted to be a teacher, a preschool teacher. She goes, why don't you go for it? I said, I'm over 50, you kidding? She goes, go for it. So I came onto Oxnard College homeless, scared, and I saw the police. Oh my goodness, my knees got to knocking. They're gonna harass me, oh, I'm going down. And it was the first time I had such a positive experience with cops, was the Oxnard police. I love them. I just love Oxnard police, the campus police I'm talking about. And, you know, so I continued doing that. So with doing that, I came back, I did one class. They told me, oh, this is good, I could do this. That happened 2016. Got up and I felt bad, but the fall of 2015, I started feeling sick, throwing up, can't keep anything. So, you know, I got the flu, drink some honey. Oh, I had a friend, she bring me home stomach pills. That went on, I ended up in the hospital. And it was not the flu, it was cancer. So I'm like, okay, interesting. So St. John's told me, you need to get your affairs together. You're not gonna make it. So my family in Belize is fighting, how we gonna get your body here? My thing is like, forget trying to get my body. I wanna live. But I didn't have that much faith at first, but I have a wonderful person that God always put people in your life, sometimes to sharpen you, sometimes to aid you. But God blessed me with my Yolanda. We met here on campus. And everybody thought automatically she was my daughter, because she's Jamaican, I'm Belizean, we sung alike, we hang out. She ended up being my roommate. And she said, you're not gonna die, we're gonna pray. And I held on to God. And I ended up at Cedar Sinai Hospital. And they said, oh wow, it's not your stomach after all, it's your pancreas. I'm like, well, why didn't they find this out? They did all the tests. I said, well, because you don't fit the protocol. For you to have pancreas problem, you have to have diabetes or an alcoholic, and I'm not either. So they did the surgery, they took the tumors out of my pancreas, and my upper duct was closing. So they had to scrape it, they call it feather, and they put the temporary step to hold it up. I still have it in my stomach. Hence I say, but God. So I was off school for a year, and I came back. I came back on last year, 2017, on Oxycontin. While I was in Cedar Sinai, I had 2 surgeries. Walking on my own, came out in a wheelchair, unable to walk. But God, He brought me through another. And I came back to school, 2017, sorry. I started feeling not so good on the fall. They did some biopsy, cancer is back. Now they're talking about spreads in my head, in my bones, they want to amputate my leg. And I said, oh no, you're not. I'm not believing you. I don't put my faith in man no more. My faith is in my man above. that's my physician, that's my mighty healer. So I decided to do it herbalistically. Found a man in Belize called Mr. Guy, and I started doing the treatment. I'm in 3 months in the treatment. However, on last month, last couple weekends ago, I went up to Arizona, and we were doing praying and healing, but I should go back a little bit farther. God blessed me with a special gift on last year, March 9th, 2017, called the Holy Ghost. And with my Holy Ghost in me, I was able to hold on and have faith. Standing in front of you here tonight, didn't I drop the cane? Because those of you who've seen me around campus first, why is the cane? Some knew, some didn't. Feeling a lot better. Because I'm walking in healing. Because I know my God did not bring me this far to let me down. Another thing I realized that he brought to my attention, my husband and my kids was my God. And they disappoint me, but my God never, ever disappoint me. And he's always on time. He loved me so that he had brought me to this place where I could have support. I have wonderful friends, like my wonderful professor mentioned, look for a crowd. People in the library say Miss Regina's crew. But it's just that I love life, I love God. And so what I would like, my story, I don't sympathy, of course not, because there's nothing to sympathize about because I have God. But I would just encourage anyone out there, don't give up. Walk in faith. Walk forward. Don't look back. Don't let no man tell me you can't. Because when they say you can't, God say you will. When they say you're ugly, God say you're beautiful. When they say you're worthless, God said you are my child. I uniquely made you for a purpose. So hold on, my peers. Love life. Enjoy your family. But believe and hold on. Thank you for giving me time.
Being told that you have a rare, incurable disease is devastating. It makes you question your love. You feel lost, scared, alone. Our next speaker went through all of that and more. Here to tell her story, Jessica Mendez.
So this is my story, and it is on polycystic kidney disease. So first, to give you a little bit of a background of what it is a genetic disorder, and there's a possibility, or 50% chance that I can give it to my kids if I ever decide to have them. It is the fourth leading cause of kidney failure, and as of right now, there is 600,000 people in the United States that have this disease, and out of those 600,000, 5% of them end up with kidney failure. As Professor Maldonado mentioned, that it is incurable, but this morning I actually just found out that there is treatment for it, and the FDA just approved it yesterday. So I'm really excited to see my nephrologist. I'm really excited to see my nephrologist, to hopefully maybe get on it, because it's a pill that slows the progression of the cyst. So these are just some of the symptoms that come with it. So one of them is you do have high blood pressure, and the other one is you have terrible side back pain The best way I can describe it is, you carry something heavy and you just throw out your back, or you can't lay down at all. It's like a terrible leg cramp is probably the best way I can describe it. So what do they look like? So an average sized kidney is about 2 to 3 inches, and a kidney disease or an inflamed kidney is about 12 inches. As you can see, it's almost the size of a football. So my experience. So to start it, I should say I was a junior in high school, and I went to go donate blood. I was fine, did it well. Senior year rolled around, I went to go donate blood again. They told me, hey, you have high blood pressure, are you okay? Is everything fine? Are you nervous? I'm like, no, I'm fine. Like, I've done this before, I should be fine. So then I go home, tell my mom, like, hey mom, they told me I had high blood pressure, thinking like, mom, I shouldn't have high blood pressure. I wasn't nervous, it's not like I had a test or anything going on. So I'm like, oh, I'm good. My mom was like, you're probably nervous or, something. I'm like, all right, just let it go. Fast forward a few years, it was early February of 2012, and I had the symptoms, I had terrible pain. I couldn't, lay down. I had fever, chills, literally everything. And on February 14th, the morning of 2012, I was coughing up blood, and I was like, okay, well, this isn't normal. So my family then rushes me over to the hospital. It took them about 3 days to figure out what was wrong with me, and they gave me an ultrasound. So as you can see, back there are the black are the cysts of my kidney, and I have them on both of them. So I remember them telling my parents, like, hey, do you guys already have this? Is there any family history going on? And my parents like, no, like, you don't know anything. So after that, I remember going home, and once I was cleared from, being all drugged up, I was like, well, why is this going on? Like, why? I'm only 20 years old. I shouldn't be going through this. This is something that old people deal with, not me. I'm only 20. I should be planning my 21st birthday party. That's what I should be worrying about, not anything else. And I was depressed for a little bit, especially because not having any family, not having any family or any sense of community going on, I was alone. Even though I could explain it to my parents, any family, friends, they couldn't understand me. I was just alone. I couldn't call like my aunt, my cousin, anything. So after seeing like my doctors, my nephrologist, and at this time I was also seeing my therapist and a dietitian as well. And they all helped me, kind of guide me in the right direction. More so my therapist, because she made me see like the bright side of it. She's like, well, Jessica, even though, you're only 20, let's look at it. You've lost weight with your dietitian, you've eaten a lot better, so she's like, well, maybe this is a good thing that it happened because you're in a better state you are now, because Lord knows what could have happened if you were on the same path you were at the time. So with that, I'm always, trying to be positive, so I always see the bright side of it, because, you never know what could happen. So the first picture here is my pediatrician. So he saw me up until I was 21. And right there he is seeing my nephew. Once I was 21, he kicked me out and recommended me to his best friend. And he's my current doctor now. So as I mentioned earlier about there was no sense of community, I had nobody. I Googled and I found out that actually last year they have it every year. I found out that they have this polycystic kidney disease event in Santa Monica. So I went to it, my team name, I don't know if you can see, it's called Jessica's Little Beans. I was being creative. And during this event, I got to meet a lot of people who were on dialysis, who had transplants already. And one lady in particular came up to me and told me, hey, you're new. And I was like, yeah. So she actually told me her story. And her story was she was 5 years old when she was diagnosed. At, I believe, 35-ish, she found out, or she went on dialysis, and right before her 50th birthday, she got a kidney transplant. So she told me, Jessica, you're young, at this time I was 24. I was like, you're young, you go enjoy your life, because you never know when you're gonna wake up, hurting again like you did, years ago. And just Just go for it. Don't let anything hold you back. And I'm like, okay. So I probably may have taken that a little too literal. So there I am actually on Potato Chip Rock out near San Diego. And clearly my friend is not scared of heights. I am still terrified, but I haven't done it since. And there she is trying to probably, kill me, pull me off the cliff. Okay. Horseback riding, I actually love and enjoy. To me, it's very therapeutic. But I actually found out that with horseback riding, when you're trotting, you can actually burst assist. So I have to be careful with that. I love going to the California Science Center. I try to go as often as I can. And I love doing the bike ride. There I am with my family, my brother there and my best friend, going to Horror Nights every year for my birthday. And there I am ziplining on Fremont Street in Las Vegas. So like she mentioned earlier, that any opportunity I get, and I'm not going to travel, I'm going to just go out. If any opportunities thrown at me to travel, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to wait till summer break, winter break, spring break, etc. to plan a vacation. This was a spontaneous trip, and this was actually this last weekend. As you can see, I am there ziplining again. I went to Bass Pro Shops, one of my favorite stores. And there we are, at the roller coaster there. So even though this disease is incurable, and like I said, there's a treatment now for it, I know that maybe one day in the future, I'm going to need, a kidney transplant or, be on dialysis. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue to love, laugh, and hold on to hope that one day this disease will be cured.
The strongest pieces of steel are made in an arduous process that involves repeatedly folding the steel, hammering it, and putting it in high temperatures. Sometimes that's kind of like what life feels like, right? Sometimes we feel like we're being repeatedly folded, hammered, and put in high pressure. In fact, our next speaker has gone through so much that you could say she's a woman of steel. Here to tell her story, Miss Alejandra Nicole Gentry.
I'm so happy to be here. I just want to say thank you to the entire We Speak committee, first of all, because this is amazing, and I could not wait. I was a bit nervous, but I cannot wait to get up here and share my story with you. I'm wearing this kente cloth today because I will be graduating from Oxford College here next month. This is a huge victory for me personally because I actually was academically dismissed from this district in 2012 for having, I think, maybe a 0.9 GPA. It hasn't been easy, but this was something that I knew since I was a little girl that I was going to go to college and that I was going to go to a university and graduate from there. And I still have my plans to complete law school, and I have every intention of making sure I get there. Before we move on, I'm about to share a lot about myself. Can you guys all just stand up with me together? Stand up, everybody. Thank you. And then I just have one more favor after that also. Can you just wrap your arms around yourself and give yourself a nice big hug? Please, please, please. I'm going to share my whole life with you right now. Just do this with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And give yourselves a hand. Thank you, everybody, for participating. I am going to talk today about self-love. So that's why I need you guys to make sure that you turn on your self-love right now so that you can to really hear what I have to say, and I hope that it helps you in your journey. Self-love is one of the most forgotten and pushed aside kinds of love that exist in the entire universe. And we're all guilty of it at different times. Me personally, I am naturally a healer and a nurturer and a giver. And in that, there's been times in my life where I've given so much of myself that I didn't leave much for myself. Are there any other healers here? Any other nurturers? Any other givers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody's not a giver, you know? Because somebody has to be the taker. And everybody's not a healer because some of us are broken. Everybody can't be a nurturer. And I personally didn't even want that. I never wanted to be any of it. Until I realized that I was, and then I embraced it because I liked the feeling that it gave me when I was able to help others get through, difficult times in their life. There's a lot of difficult times that I've gone through, and I can't really say that I didn't have anyone there, anyone willing to be there, but I didn't take advantage of those people, and I went through those things by myself. So a lot of the things that you're going to hear from me today are the first time that anybody has ever heard it. I learned the hard way that not only can we, but we must control our own thoughts, our own feelings, our own actions and reactions. Because if not, those things will control us. They will control you, and they will lead you down the path that you're not wanting to take. Nobody wants to go there. In order to lead a path of positivity, you have to be the leader. I learned that the hard way. And, I grew up, I was raised with real love. I was surrounded by family. We took these nice vacations, we ate at nice restaurants. We had a really nice childhood. My parents did a lot to make sure that we were well-rounded. But they couldn't protect me from everything. No parent can. So instead of trying to do that, instead of trying to control the world around your kids, we need to start, as parents, teaching our children to control what they can control. My parents didn't know that when I was 3 years old, while I was in the backseat of their car, I witnessed my first murder. At an early age, I was exposed to gangs, drugs, violence, abuse, sex trafficking, you name it. Friends, family, neighbors, peers, some of my closest friends. I've had one of my exes came to my door, and after years of not seeing each other, and he had a He asked me for a glass of water. I gave it to him. He came in and told me that he didn't want a small talk, and he pulled out a crystal meth pipe and told me that he needed my help because he didn't want this to kill him. I had another person in my life come to me on a heroin addiction. Over 6 feet tall, less than 100 pounds, skin peeling, face sunken in. He detoxed at my house, cold feet. I remember the cold sweats. I remember when he couldn't eat. I remember when he would scream, vomit, couldn't sleep. I remember the shakes and the seizures. In 2005, 2007, and 2013, I was raped. In 2009 and 2011, I was sexually assaulted. In 2006 and 2014, I was a victim of hate crimes. In 2015, I was physically assaulted at work. In 2009, 2016, and 2017, I was robbed at gunpoint. In 2006 to 2007, I was a victim of domestic violence. I always said I would never be that person. And people always have this attitude that they will never be that person until they end up being that person. You can't control it. You cannot control what happens around you. You cannot control everything in the world. But what you can control is how you treat yourself, how you speak to yourself, and the things that you allow yourself to think about. If you focus and dwell on the negative things that are in your life, you will find yourself drowning in a sea of oceans under a full moon, and you have no control over your own emotions. You don't want to be there. I have been there. I had to read these notes to tell you this, because these are not things that I think about all the time. They're not something that I can allow myself to revisit. But last year, in April of 2017, on campus, we had an activity called the Clothesline Project, which is for sexual assault awareness. And if you are familiar, they have different colored shirts that represent different kinds of sexual violence that one may have encountered. So the directions are to come up and choose the color shirt that best fits you and create something on it that represents how you feel or that would help someone else. And the first time that I really sat down and counted how many times I had been violated, the first time in my life that I did that was that day. I couldn't choose the shirt. I needed all of them. And I ran out of time trying to create what I needed to. And I went home that night down for the first time. And I realized that not facing these things had been affecting me, and I didn't even know it. Then last year, in November of 2017, I was finally diagnosed with PTSD, something I've been running from for a really long time, which is why I refused the advice to seek help, because I knew what help would do. Help would force me to face all of it. Help would force me to confront everything that was holding me back and weighing me down. But what I didn't know, that help would force me to step into the woman that I'm supposed to be. I still experience flashbacks. Days when I'm in my car and just scream. Days when I start uncontrollably crying over the smallest thing and I feel like I can't control it. I don't even know why it's happening. It just feels like there's water coming out of my eyes, but I didn't invite them. They're not tears. I didn't say I'm sad because something happened. They just come. Like they belong there. Like this is their house and I'm the intruder. But I let them roll down my face because I know that they're not in vain. And I know that every single tear that we cry is one that's supposed to be there. And we owe that to ourselves, to allow ourselves to let those tears flow when you need to. You have to let that stuff go. You have to put the bags down in order to move forward. You have to be able to look back. You can't just keep being scared of it. Self-love is so important because you will never be able to fully love anyone else in the world, any other person in the world, including your own children, including your spouse, your best friend. You will never be able to fully love anyone else in the world until you love yourself just as much, if not more. And if you're not doing that, it's very unlikely that you'll be able to keep up with that love that you're trying to give to someone else. Eventually it catches up to you. Self-love is saying yes to yourself. Saying yes to what makes you happy, what makes you smile, what makes you feel proud of yourself, and what makes you feel good when you look into the mirror. What makes you feel like if you die tomorrow, you can go comfortably knowing and understanding that you were living your life in the way that you knew that you needed to be, and with purpose, with intention. You're not just accidentally, oh, I didn't mean to, oh, I did this, but it was an accident, or, you're living with intention. When you start intentionally loving yourself, that's when things start changing. 2017 was a tough year for me, probably one of the hardest. But this year, I decided to say yes to myself. This year, as I said, I will be graduating with 3 degrees in 2018. I now have above a 3.5 GPA. I am now the Senate Chair of the Associated Student Government here on campus. I am now playing on the Oxnard College softball team. Who knew? I own a daycare. I am a private tutor. I'm raising my 9-year-old godson, who I've had for the past 3 years, unexpectedly. I recently was recognized as the first place winner of the Live Your Dream Award, and I was recently honored to be able to speak at the Women's Empowerment Expo. And all these things have happened to me because I finally started saying yes to myself. Thank you.
It's amazing stuff, right? They say that a man travels the world in search of what he needs, only to come home to find it. During his military service and extensive travel, our next speaker found out that maybe the entire world is home. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Nicholas Walters.
Alright guys, so I'm not going to give a speech in like the sense of it. Instead I'm just going to pretty much give a talk. When I say that I mean like a highlight of my life and a couple takeaways that I've gotten in my 27 short years on this earth. So, born in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, raised in Akron, Michigan, graduated high school in 2009 and then moved out of my parents' house and in with some friends. I did 2 semesters of college there and then kind of dropped out, right? I was young. And then I moved to Tennessee. One of my friends actually owned a bar down there. So I packed up my shitty little Pontiac Sunbird and I hit the road, man. And this is how I knew I was not in Michigan anymore, right? I was a server at Buffalo Wild Wings. And the first time that they let me go, there was a couple, a guy and a girl. And I got their food. And in Michigan, we say pop, right? So I went up to the table and I was like, hey, can I get you guys another pop? And the dude looks at me, he's like, pop, round here we call it Coke or soda. Goddamn, you Yankee boy. And I was like, oh, man. So I lived there for a year and then moved back to Michigan and started working jobs I didn't like, right? And I was like, man, I need to go back to school or do something. I didn't know what it was, so I Googled the United States Navy and did about a half-hour research. I said, that's what I'm gonna do. So 4 months later, I was alone on a bus filled with people heading to boot camp in Chicago, Illinois. And 3 months later, I emerged a member of the United States military. And then it was off to San Diego. It was my first duty station on board an aircraft carrier, the USS Carl Vinson. Just to give you guys an idea how big these ships are when they deploy, there's anywhere between 5,000 and 5,500 people. So they're like floating cities, man, it's crazy. And I did 2 glorious years on board this ship, mopping floors, chipping paint, and sanding rust. So you can imagine when it was my time to go, I was so upset. Right? I hated it. But after that, I got a new job, and it was a construction mechanic, a CB here in Port Arnemy. So again, I packed my car and drove out here, and we had a 3-month mechanic school. Past that, thank God for coffee and Red Bulls. Probably wouldn't have made it. And then it was off to Mississippi where I had to do expeditionary combat school. So that was really cool. It was super hot there. Sweated a lot. Terrible. But Bourbon Street, New Orleans was actually like an hour and a half away. So I remember just going there on the weekends, and that place was awesome. It's just like you see on TV. At 23, that was a great time. And back here to California where we ramped up for deployment. Now, my first deployment was to the Philippines, and that was a humanitarian mission, so I found myself on a plane, man, flying halfway around the world, and I got off, and I was like, man, this is like a new planet out here. It was crazy. I've never been, in America, but now I'm overseas. And there was 32 of us that went, and we stayed in hotels, and it's like they say, work hard, party hard. So the 32 of us that went there, only 31 came back with the group. And I was the unfortunate one who didn't make it. To make a long story short, I fell off a karaoke bar onto a pile of rocks in the ocean, and they had to fly me back to Japan to get dental work. So partying hard, I got to see another country because of that. That was pretty cool. But I'm missing a tooth now, so I'm happy to live. I did live in Tennessee, so that's, so from there, it was back to California, and I had a little bit of money saved up from deployment. And I like taking risks, right? So I was like, I'm gonna buy and sell a vehicle, right? That sounds cool. Make a little money. And so I bought a pickup truck. It's funny how life works, because me and my friends ended up kicking around the idea of sailing. And the guy who actually bought the pickup was like, hey man, if you take another $100 off, I'll take you out on a sailboat fishing trip to the islands, you and some friends. It's like, hell yeah, man, all right. So we shook hands, and he came through like 3 weeks later. It was, he took us out. And I remember he started the engine up, and we're taking off, and the boat's vibrating. We get out past the brake wall, and he points the bow of the boat into the wind, and he's yelling out, grab this line, do this, and we raise that head sail up, and whoop, the wind catches it, and now the boat's kind of tipped over a little bit, and then he unfurls that head sail, whoop, now the boat's tipped over a little bit more, man, and we're moving. I was terrified, it was exhilarating, and I was like, man, you could hear the waves slapping the hull, it was just beautiful. Anyways, we made it out to the islands and caught a shit ton of fish. It was awesome, drank a lot of beer, had a great time. And then I knew I was hooked, right? I was like, dang. And a month later, I ended up buying a sailboat. Me and my friend split it. And I networked around the docks, and a bunch of older people thought it was awesome. They're like, wow, that's really brave of you. So they taught me how to sail, and I did that for about a year. Sailed around, and my time in the Navy was up, so I packed up my shit and moved back to Michigan. Did a huge cross-country road trip, it was awesome. And when I got back, I got right into school again. But I miss sailing, I miss like the California vibes. So I contacted the local yacht club there in Bay City, Michigan. And I managed to talk my way onto a race crew. It was like, no experience, right? So I raced sailboats that summer, and the culmination of that was the Mackinac race, which is one of the largest freshwater sailboat races in the world. It's, I think it's about 300 miles, took us 45 hours to complete. We finished 45th in our division and 5th overall, which was amazing. And now it was winter, man, so I was like stir crazy. Going to school, I was like, man, I want to move back to California. And I was like, how am I going to do it? Well, I don't want to just take my Jeep again, I want to do a huge road trip. So I ended up buying a really cheap conversion van, and me and my dad spent the winter building it into this like extravagant camper for my road trip through the winter. And once spring came around, I loaded it up and took off, man, and moved out here. I did a 30-day road trip. And when I got out here, I actually lived in this thing for 4 months. I was like, shit, I save money, pay off some debt, whatever. So did that. Now here I am enrolled in Oxnard and VC as well. I go there. I'll have my associates at the end of this year for transfer. I don't know where I want to go yet. Whatever. I just live day to day. I'm having a good time. So that's cool, right? So that I'm a Navy reservist now, so once a month I'm obligated to go in and do that stuff. And I'm actually a RAM member at the Channel Islands Yacht Club, which is race associate. So this summer I'll be racing out of the Channel Islands Yacht Club. Hopefully I can get in on the Newport to Ensenada race. I think that's a couple day sail, so that would be cool. I know that a lot of that stuff sounds like it's awesome and like, oh, you can live this cool life, but I'd be lying if I told you that I didn't have fear, anxiety, self-doubt, even some regret along the way. That's just human, those are just emotions that you feel, right? But every time I took a risk, and through all that, I've learned to tame those emotions a little bit. It becomes easier, right? So in my short 27 years, I have a couple things that I've learned I want to share with you guys. The first one is to be patient, right? We live in this generation of instant gratification, gimme, 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 now, 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 and no one wants to wait for anything. I mean, dreams and goals, they take time to mature. They don't happen overnight. And don't let society dictate where you should be at any one point in your life, right? There's more paths than high school, college, job. Sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes you got to figure yourself out and finding it through travel, adventure, and taking risks. The second thing is to live day to day. Don't dwell on the past unless you're looking at maybe to learn from failures and successes. Don't look too far into the future. It's good to set goals and check in on them every once in a while, but don't dwell on it. Instead, kind of put your nose to the grindstone every day and bust your ass, and before you know it, you'll look up and realize that you're already where you want to be. The third thing is to embrace failure, right? No one likes to fail. It hurts. You don't want to, maybe you don't want to let someone down, let yourself down, hurt your ego. But through failure, that's how you learn. You always want advice from an older person. Why? Because they're wise. How they get wise? Trial and error. Through failure, right? So I say embrace failure because that equates to learning, and learning equals success. And the last thing, which is my bread and butter, is to take risks. Because through risk, whether you fail or succeed, you're going to learn a little bit of something about yourself and about the world. And when you take risks, new paths will present themselves to you. For instance, sailing with me, I took a risk to buy a vehicle. The guy who bought it took me sailing. I bought a sailboat, the largest freshwater sailboat, yada, yada, yada. So that's an example right there. And it's like a snowball effect. The more risks you take, the easier they become. And it's really just Newton's law, right? Objects at rest tend to stay at rest, and objects in motion tend to stay in motion. So I encourage you guys to take the steps to put yourselves in motion today. Thank you.
Now for our final speaker. There's a Tibetan proverb that says, "Where your friends are, that is your country. And where you receive love, that is your home." Unfortunately, there are times in our lives when we feel like we can't find either one. Our final speaker is going to talk about how she was able to find both through music. So please help me and welcome Ms. Iqbal Al-Aldin.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
In a show of hands, how many of you have ever experienced bullying in your life? Well, in this evening, I'll be talking about bullying and how I have overcome in my life. When I first moved to the U.S., I used to live in Westwood in West LA, and I went to school there. I was in completely culture shock. It was so different. I never attended school with boys before. Where I came from, all educational institutes, boys and girls were separated. Well, a little bit of background about me. I'm an 18-year-old. I'm Sudanese, but I was born and raised in Saudi Arabia. I moved here about 5 years ago. I started getting bullied in school. People didn't like the way I looked, the color of my skin, my religion, and the scarf I wear around my head. I was basically an outsider. One time, I got my scarf pulled out of my head. It made me just want to drop out of high school. I don't want to go to school anymore. I was too shy to stand up for myself and too scared. My mom was the one who always solved my bullying problems, such as just talking to my principal or meeting with my teachers. It was a frustrating time for her more than it was for me. So everyone just clap for my mom for helping me out to get through this. So I decided not to give up, and I wanted to try something new. I joined the swim team for a little while. I tried out and I got in. I really liked it. I practiced so hard and I got into varsity in a very short amount of time. Swimming made me forget about every single problem in my life and all the bullying experiences that's been happening at that time. Just whenever I swim, I just forget everything. And then it made me feel so good. I also participated in championships. I didn't win, but it made me, it raised my self-esteem. 3 years passed by, my family and I moved to Simi Valley, and I decided to change everything about my life, my personality, the way I look. I just wanted to discover myself. So my mom suggested that I should maybe try choir. Maybe I would like it. I didn't even know I could sing. See, your mother knows, huh?
Yeah, I know.
I also joined the Muslim Student Association club in school. It made me feel good to be around people that maybe that are from the same religion. They helped me a lot to get through a lot of stuff. So with my story, I just wanted to help people who are experiencing discrimination or bullying. Well, I was luckily able to inspire those people. The reason why that I stopped not just, I don't, the reason why I wanted to help those who were experiencing bullying, because when I see something not right, I just want to change it. I don't want to sit around anymore and be quiet. So in school, one time, I planned a multicultural day, which was a very huge success. The purpose was to make everyone in school feel like they belong, and which diversity and unity was a huge purpose as well. With those activities that I have done in school, I became less shy over time. I started to notice that I have a good voice. My music teacher have told me that with a little bit of practice, I can be a good singer. So I just found myself in music. Performing just made me realize that there's nothing hard to do. You just need the love, the courage, the self-love. I felt my shyness behind, and I started to stand up for every single bully or someone that tries to lower my self-esteem. And here I am, strong, confident, beautiful. I will always be proud of who I am. My hijab, the color of my skin, my religion, I just love myself. I'll never change anything about me. And my past, will always remind me to be a better person. And I would like to conclude my speech with a song that I admire so much. It talks about self-love and self-value. Little girl, watching her reflection, as she parts her curls into 4 sections. She says, I don't look like them, I don't look like her, and I don't want what's on my head. Baby girl, stay bright. Guess you are like the sun, so always stay bright. Thank you, everyone.
Could we get all of our speakers up here all together so that we can give them a huge round of applause? Come on, guys. Come on here. Everybody up there. It took so much courage and bravery to come up here and tell these stories. And we're hoping to make this an annual thing. So if there are any students out there who were inspired, we'd love to invite you guys to our next event, which is going to be in a year. Tell everybody about this event, please. It's really important to support our students and our community. So how about we give a round of applause to the audience? Thank you guys so much. This concludes our event. Thank you guys. Thank you.